You know, it's interesting. Our gospel this weekend presents quite a contrast in both content and tone compared to what we've been hearing in the gospel over the last several weeks. Since we re-entered ordinary time, we've been hearing a lot about the cost of discipleship. So we've been reading in Matthew's gospel and we've been seeing what this cost looks like. And Jesus is talking to us about persecution, conflict, suffering, division, picking up our crosses, etc. Right? Good old time religion, which I love, right? But today, kind of like a reprieve from the heavy heat and humidity, Jesus' words are a little sweeter and a little lighter. Today we hear about rest, comfort, light burdens, and easy yokes. Now, at first, we might be tempted to think that Jesus is being inconsistent here. How can he talk about picking up our crosses one day, dying along with him, only to then backpedal the next day and to get all sweet on us, telling us how easy he'll make it for us? He's not inconsistent, but I do think that he is speaking into the inconsistent experience that you and I, that all of us have in our spiritual lives. Some days being a faithful Catholic is just drudgery. Prayer is a chore. Penance is a burden. The teachings of Christ feel heavy, and God seems distant. And then other days, being a faithful Catholic is bliss. We feel the work of grace alive in us. We see and experience transformation that God is doing in our lives. And God seems closer to us than we are even to ourselves. Now, the reality, my friends, is that a healthy spiritual life involves both of these experiences. And I think the thrust of Jesus' words today are a reminder that as we go through these experiences, which are really the cross and the resurrection, despite how we might feel at any given moment, he is with us. He has yoked himself to us, the way that two oxen are yoked together. And he is pulling our heavy burdens with us. He's carrying our crosses with us, and he is transforming us by his presence right next to us along the way. Now, sometimes we'll get lost in the reality that, like oxen, we're here to work hard, and we can easily zero in on the drudgery, and we can start to feel overwhelmed. And you know what? That is okay. Why? Because he's still right there with us. And in these moments, when we feel at our heaviest, if we can just learn to look over our shoulder and see him there, then we're going to find that these burdens are not lessened, but they are borne a little bit more lightly, more sweetly, and more easily. You know, sometimes in my spiritual life, I feel like I take one step forward and then 2 steps back. I want to overcome my sinfulness and my imperfections as quickly as possible, and it never works that way. I want to eliminate the drudgery, and I just want that sweetness. But what if today Jesus is telling us to be okay with their coexistence? What if I can experience sweetness in my drudgery? And what if, paradoxically, it's the holy tension between the two that is actually the recipe for holiness? My friends, the Christian life is tough, and it's grueling at times. And if you're not experiencing it that way, you're probably doing it wrong. But the Christian life is also beautiful, and it's sweet. And if you're not experiencing that, you're probably doing it wrong. Like the oxen we are, let's pause today and do 2 things. One, let's make sure that we are actually yoked up in pulling our load. Because sometimes when we don't experience the burdens of our spiritual life, we're not pulling anything. We're just kind of riding on the cart. But there's something very special about having that yoke on us, about pulling that, about the sweat and the tears that come with pulling that cross, that load. So let's make sure that we're actually yoked up to it and we're not fooling ourselves. And then 2, let's make sure that the yoke that we're actually yoked up to is Christ's and not our own. Because a lot of the drudgery that we experience in this life comes from our own faults. We do it to ourselves. What Jesus is saying to us today is, listen, I got a yoke for you. And you've still got to be in the game. And you've still got to fight through your spiritual life. And you've got to work hard at it. But this yoke is mine, and I am right there with you. And that will give us our sweetness as we make our way along the path. Let's pray today, then, that we will be able to embrace that yoke, that sweet yoke that is ours, and find the sweetness and the beauty even in the difficult moments of our spiritual lives.